up for grabs now!
Magic ball from Bergkamp to Patrick Vieira!
Oh, would you believe it? Oh, right, what a way to get it! Well done!
Fabulous solo goal by Thierry Henry.
Champions.
Good evening and welcome to the Arsenal Lounge. We're back to our usual 8 p.m. slot and the team are back minus Shaheen, who's still gallivanting somewhere in Iran and we haven't heard from him since. But look, another positive one. Before we go into it all, let's say hello to the guys here. Mo, how you doing? Looking nice and fresh with that new Arsenal top?
Yeah, man, thought I'd wear it. You know, it's the top you want to be in these days in the Premier League. So, yeah, wearing it with a lot of pride. I'm good, man. Thank you very much.
No, it's great, man. It's great having you. And Tom, how you doing, mate? You haven't got your third kit yet?
No. Less than about that, the better. I think,
Yeah.
you know, I just want the kit so bad. And it's just not arrived. It's just not arrived. It is what it is.
I'm hearing it's bothering you more, it's stressing you more than the upcoming wedding you have as well. Is that right?
Don't let the missus hear about that, but yeah, probably.
I doubt Mrs. is watching the Arsenal Lounge. I'm sure she watches every show that you're on, Tom, though, so maybe she is on here. There you go. But look, I mean, you know, let's get straight into it. It was our curtain raiser at the Emirates. A strong team out, same as last weekend, mostly. I think it was, wasn't it? It was the same team, yeah. And look, strong first half, a very good performance in the first half. 2 goals from Jesus, who was brilliant on the day. Second half, a little bit disappointing here and there with some goals we conceded. I think it was an own goal by Saliba, a bit of the miscommunication between him and Ramsdale. And a second they added through Maddison, but in between that we scored again, Xhaka, I believe, and then we scored again after the Maddison goal, pretty quick again. It was the fourth. Help me out here, guys. It was
Martinelli.
There you go, with a great finish from outside the box, left foot, bottom corner. So look, I think it was a good performance all in all. Disappointing to let the goals in, but you know, the fans on the day. I mean, I was lucky enough to get a ticket thanks to Mo, who sorted me out on the day last minute. I was getting ready to do a dodgy stream, and then I got a message through on WhatsApp, and I was like, I'm having that. So yeah, turned up to the game, sweltering heat. By the way, there was a lot of pink faces in that ground. Not going to lie, but you know, it was hot day. But it was a good performance all in all, and the fans, the connection between the fans and the players, very much there. Even after Saliba's own goal, I mean, I've not seen it myself before, where a player scores an own goal and the fans are fully behind him, and you know, it was really good to see, and all in all was a great day. But I'd like to hear your thoughts on it, starting with Mo. How was it with your nephew up in the upper echelons of the club sections?
Yeah, look, he had a great time, and I had a great time, and I've taken him to a few games, but this is probably like one of the first times where I feel like I trust Arsenal, because especially when you're going with a younger person, right, a nephew, your kid, or whatever.
Yeah.
You almost feel like their loyalty is going to be tested by defeat. Whilst you know, for us, you know, we are what we are now. We're Arsenal fans, but so in the past, I've always gone. I thought to myself, I really want Arsenal to win, just so he gets that bug and he enjoys it. But I've always been nervous. And actually, on this occasion, I was talking to him on the way out. He thought we'd win. I thought we'd win. Every single Arsenal fan I spoke to thought we'd win. We all felt like Jesus was going to score. We all seemed really, really confident. And at halftime, it was going exactly as I expected. And then Arsenal made it a little bit more difficult for themselves, or you know, when it was 2-0 up, it was going exactly as expected, and then we made it a bit more difficult for ourselves. And actually, it should never have been a 4-2 game. It should never have been as close as what it could have been. Well, luckily, we scored goals straight after they scored their goals, but end of the 90 minutes, it was a very, very good performance, and I'm very happy. And actually, I felt like even though they did get goals to make the game what could have been a bit more tricky, it actually wasn't tricky. We were always in control.
Yeah, fair enough. Tom, how do you feel about the game?
Yeah, I can't really add too much to what Mo said there. I think, as he said, control was the key thing. You never really felt like Arsenal were in danger of really dropping the points. I know that Leicester scored a couple of goals, but I mean, even after the Saliba own goal, which was an opportunistic time for Leicester to get back into things. We responded so quickly that there was almost not even any time to feel nerves because we just arrested the situation, and we did it twice. We responded both times. And whilst it's obviously irritating that kind of marked the game a little bit, I think that absolutely the scoreline flatters Leicester and undersells Arsenal's performance. Arsenal could have been 4-5 up by half time without too much of a problem. Jesus, who we can rave about, missed some clear-cut chances that he absolutely should have scored. And I think that in a bigger game, if they're the only chance he gets, maybe we're more critical of his finishing. But when he scored 2 goals like he did and set up 2 more, you're not going to see a criticism, and quite rightly. But yeah, I think we absolutely battered them, controlled the game, or a side that will impose confidence and fear, I think, into anyone that's going to come up and face us in the coming games. It's a big game next week against Bournemouth. I know we're going to talk about that later, but it's about momentum, and this is certainly a game that built momentum once again.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Jesus was a real handful. The way he was backing into the likes of, the centre-backs there, the Fofana had a toy time with him. Who's the other chap? I don't know why I've gone blank today, but Johnny Evans. He backed into Johnny Evans, spun off him, and he was going to score, but for a last-minute tackle. And he could have, he rightly so. What I did like about him is he scored 2 goals, set up a couple of goals, but he looked disappointed that he didn't score more. And you could see that when you watch the replays. When I come home and watched it, he was very disappointed. And ironically, I think Arteta said that in his post-match interviews. And ironically, 2 days prior, they were talking about Saliba. And they were saying, look, he's doing really well, but he's a young lad. He could make some mistakes along the way. And lo and behold, he did make a mistake. But someone in the chat mentioned there, if it was somebody else like White or whatever, it would have been, they would have really gone to town with him. But I think the difference is we can all see that he is a genuinely talented player, and he's young, and he's got more to come from him. And I think that makes a massive difference. Also, another thing to mention, I'm not one of his biggest fans, but we're seeing a different Xhaka at the moment, aren't we? Because he seems to be going more, bombing on a lot more. I think the system we're playing now enables him to get into the box a bit more. He could have scored a header, scored a goal with a tap-in. Is that something we're going to be expecting more? And is that something that might make them change what they're looking for? I don't want to get into the transfers too much right now, but it could change the philosophy. And I've always maintained we need a replacement for Partey. And I know, Tom, in your show earlier, you mentioned that too. But Mo, I mean, what's your thoughts on what you're seeing with Xhaka at the moment? And, is that due to maybe having a different system, having the likes of Zinchenko maybe coming in when he does bomb on?
Yeah, it's definitely intentional from Mikel Arteta. He's definitely pushed him further forward, further up the pitch. And it's suiting Xhaka a lot because ultimately we know what the downsides of Xhaka's games are. It's the concentration in terms of defensively and a few rash decisions. Like sometimes he'll do something when he's closer to his own box that you think, why on earth have you done that? It's a sloppy pass. It's, not being completely aware. And he gets away with not exposing those frailties when he's playing further up the pitch. Now, the problem with that is that, I do think there's much better players that can play in that position further up the pitch. But given how it's gone for Xhaka at Arsenal, to date, I feel like we're so used to seeing him, I don't want to be too harsh on the guy, but committing an unenforced error that could lead to a goal, basically, or a rash tackle or something like that. And he doesn't need to do all of that stuff higher at the pitch. So it definitely suits him a little bit more, helps the relationship between him and the fans because it's not the same old mistakes. If he is making mistakes, it's different mistakes that aren't as costly, that actually we don't notice as much. So it's working for him. So yeah, I'm really happy actually because this has been probably the best period of his Arsenal career. And, it's not a surprise that that's coincided with the number of interviews that he's been doing. It feels like every other month he's doing yet another interview. And, I think he should kind of quit whilst he's ahead with that and just focus on the football. But I'm not sure that he is the long-term solution in that position, personally. I feel like over the course of a season, I'd expect another player could produce more in those more advanced areas of the pitch. But I'm very happy that actually he's going through a bit of a renaissance right now, though I'm still not happy that he's been given captaincy duties as one of the vice captains. I still think that due to what happened, he shouldn't be put in that position.
Okay. No, I was going to mention that as well. Yeah, I'd heard that myself. I'd be interested to see what the guys in the chat feel, how they feel about that. And another thing, Tom, as well, that was mentioned by Arteta in a recent interview is he dropped in that he feels that Fabio Vieira will play in Xhaka's position too. Hence the reason why, if I had to, the problem we're having, we'll go into transfers more in a bit, but the problem we're having at the moment is it looks like we're probably only going to get one other in. And if we were, my preference would be a replacement for Partey if Partey got injured. So, I mean, looking at that situation there, and also another thing I like to throw in, don't want to get negative, but Ramsdale is concerning me a little bit because he's costing us goals where he should be making saves. The near post does seem to be an issue. Classic goalkeepers, what they do is they dive across the near post and cover that angle. He seems to be getting caught with, trying to get his feet to the ball rather than coming across and covering that angle. So that's another thing I'd want to sort of discuss with you as well.
Yeah. The Ramsdale thing's really difficult because, initially I agreed with you, after the game, I was frustrated with Ramsdale's performance. I think he made some good saves in the first 30 minutes and dealt with Leicester quite well. The one for Fofana, the cross that he pushed over as well was a really good move because obviously there was a waiting player on the left-hand side. I think it might have been Vardy that was just sitting there. And then, the Vardy situation, obviously that wasn't a penalty, but Ramsdale didn't really need to put himself in that situation, to be fair.
Decision making there.
So I have a little concern about that. But the Maddison goal is a real back and forth one for me because I feel like if one of our players scores that goal, I think I look at it and go, he's done really well to place the ball directly between the keeper's legs in that moment. But at the same time, when you're in the defending team, you're going, well, the keeper should definitely save from that angle. I also think that Gabriel could have done more to block the shot as well. If he'd have slid in, and gone low, he would have definitely blocked.
Do you think maybe he'd have that near post covered, though?
It's difficult. I don't think I necessarily describe it as near post. I know that it's not going to cross him, and it's not gone to the left of him either. It's gone through him. So it's a weird... Yeah. I wouldn't necessarily categorize it as near post because I think the ball is shot in the one place where Ramsdale can't really work out where to get his feet. When strikers are taught to finish at times, in those moments, to aim for directly between the keeper's legs because it is the hardest place for the keeper to try and sort his feet out to get to. It's also the hardest place to get your body down to then try and block a shot if you need to. So potentially we're being maybe a bit harsh about Ramsdale on the goal, but you're always going to see when a keeper concedes in that scenario, fingers are always going to point at the keeper. It's just about whether or not we think it's fair. And we have to remember, that Ramsdale made some massive saves in the Crystal Palace game as well, just a week ago.
Good point.
So, Rancid Pumpkin in the chat box pointed that out. So I think it's one we just monitor. We watch it for a few weeks. If he has these mistakes consistently, if we have a season where, he starts to create problems or his head drops or his head goes, then we can have a chat about it. But, we're not going to replace Ramsdale.
No.
This is not going to happen. But I think let's just keep an eye on it. But, it's I don't think it's one that I'm concerned about all that much right now.
Okay, fair enough. So, I mean, if I was to ask you then, we'll look at some player ratings, right? We'll start from goalkeeper, and I'll start with Mo. What would you have given Ramsdale for his performance? I'll give you the tough one straight off the bat.
God. 6.
Yeah, I said 6.
I'll tell you. It's unfortunate. Let me ask you, Lev, because you didn't give your opinion about the Maddison one, right? So, firstly, for the Saliba own goal, do you think he could have done better? And then Maddison, and with the second one, the Maddison goal, do you think he's at fault?
Look, the first one, I think is obviously a communication issue. He's come out really quickly. Saliba's had to react. A lot of people are saying he tried to head it back to Ramsdale.
He's trying to head that wide.
I think he's head that wide. Yeah. Didn't get it right. So that one I can excuse. The Maddison one, for me, I know we're saying it's not near post, but I'm old school when it comes to football. I think if a goalie's diving down to his left in that situation, he's getting his full body behind it. There's no chance of it going through your legs. And that's the way you should be dealing with it. I think he got caught sort of positionally wrong. It shouldn't have happened. It shouldn't be going through the goalie and going in from there. So I think he's definitely at fault for that second goal. That Maddison goal, 100%.
Yeah.
But I mean, he's still a young goalie, but there are question marks when it comes to his near post at the moment. I've seen it happen a couple of times, and there's also question marks with some rash decision making. But I still love the kid, and I still think there's more to come from him. He's young. We got to accept that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, look, the first 2 games of the season haven't been his best games. So the fact that he kept a clean sheet in the first one and put off 2 brilliant saves and it wasn't his best game, it just shows the levels that we're dealing with now. Maybe we would have been happier if you go back to when he made his debut. If the first 2 games that he played for Arsenal were like this, actually we might have been holding him to completely different standards. He's raised his standards. He's going to be judged differently. And he'll only get better because he's a young keeper. So 6 out of 10, but we all love Aaron Ramsdale. And, I'm sure he'll be back to his absolute very best high standards before we know it.
Agreed. And his distribution is imperative to the way we play as well. So, I mean, that's not happening anytime soon. So, look, Zinchenko, Tom, I think he had a great game, to be honest with you. But what would you give him?
Yeah, 9 out of 10 for me. I thought it was a world-class performance, to be honest. I never go 10 because I can always think there's room for improvement.
Only give yourself 10, don't you, Tom?
Classic teacher talk. Yeah. But no, I thought he was world-class. I think he plays that inverted fullback role brilliantly well. He and Xhaka combined so well and really kind of confused Leicester's right-hand side. And either Xhaka was moving out to the wide area or Zinchenko was moving out to the wide area. And I don't know if I mentioned this in last week's show, but we talked about kind of the positioning. And I kind of expected when Zinchenko went forward that Xhaka would kind of drop into that left-back role, but he's not. They're both going forwards. They're both adding to the attack. And I think actually that's making Arsenal a lot more dangerous in these games that typically you maybe wouldn't have enough players in the final third because Xhaka's preoccupied with trying to be that cover in the left-back area because we're worried about what might happen. But I think the back 3 next to Zinchenko really helps them with the security to move forward. So yeah, Zinchenko 9 out of 10 was absolutely brilliant.
Wow, 9 out of 10. That's a high mark from you.
There's a little flick on the right hand side, on left hand side.
Lovely, yeah.
And probably one of the best chants at the moment that we have on top of the Emil Smith Rowe and Saka chant. But this new chant seems to be really, really taking flight in our ground at the moment. So yeah, I'll have to agree with you on that. I'm going to take a difficult one and take Saliba, right? Because it's a tough one because obviously he's got an own goal there, but at the same time, I still think his overall performance was excellent. I really do. And his reaction to the own goal, I mean, the fans obviously lifted him, but his reaction, he went straight back into business. He didn't let it get his head down. So, I mean, I probably would have given him an 8. I mean, but with the own goal, I guess we could say 7, maybe, just because of the own goal, miscommunication.
Yeah. I think the own goal has to count against him. That's just football. It's a massive, massive moment in the game that could have had serious impact on the game. So I don't think you're being harsh by taking a point off when you score an own goal. It's defender's worst nightmare, really, doing that.
No, I agree. I mean, look, I think he's there's still more to come from him. If he's going to make a mistake, let's do it in a game like that where we're in control. And I love the way the team responded as well. It seemed like everyone's got each other's backs. So it will be a 7 purely down. And let us know in the chats as well. And I'll say my hellos in a little bit. Mo, I will give you Gabriel.
Gabriel did well. I mean, I don't think he was absolutely exceptional. Like Tom was saying, that for Maddison's goal, I personally put that on Ramsdale. I think Gabriel did okay. If he does too much and Maddison cuts inside and gives himself a better shooting angle, for example, we're criticizing for that. You have to try and find a bit of a middle ground. Overall, I'll give him a 7 out of 10. 7.5 out of 10. I thought he was absolutely fine.
Okay, good. Tom White.
8 out of 10 for me.
Really?
I thought he was, other than Zinchenko, our best defender on the day. Yeah. I thought he was really, really solid on the right-hand side. His cross, of course, led to our third goal as well from the right-hand side. But he managed things really well. The only error that I can really pinpoint from his game was Saliba on the Saliba own goal. I think could have been stronger in dealing with the, I think it was he up against, who was on the left-hand side in that moment? He was fighting with someone for the ball. They headed it on to then when Saliba headed it back. I can't remember who it was, but he could have been a bit stronger there. But it's interesting. I think you might see a big variation in the scores. I can already see two scores that are very far apart in the chat box for White. And I think this is the thing. This is kind of the stigma that White has, is that he can have a very, very strong performance like he did on Saturday. And yet our perception is then still affected because it's White. And if White did what Saliba did, he would be battered for it. Absolutely battered. Whereas, the crowd really got behind Saliba, and that's great. Do I think that the same thing would happen for White? I'm not sure. Certainly not online. But
Tom, why? Why is that, mate?
Because my honest answer is because White kind of epitomizes the Arteta of 2021, where there was still a lot of question marks about Arteta at the end of that campaign when we finished 8th before last season. And then instead of bringing Saliba back into the team, we sent Saliba on loan and we spent £50 million on Ben White. And that price tag that's attached to him obviously got, it was a bit of a stick to beat White with. He talks about it in the All or Nothing documentary as well. And I think that attachment, for a lot of people, White was used as a bit of a battering ram against Arteta quite a lot. And he just isn't favoured. He's just not favoured in the same way that Saliba is.
Do you see it that way, Lev? Does that as a reason, if you're explaining to someone that doesn't know anything about Arsenal, that one centre-back gets favourable treatment from the fans and the other one doesn't, because it's not something I've really contemplated before, but when Tom said, imagine White had scored that own goal, I think that crystallises the issue for me. I can imagine the reaction being significantly worse for White than Saliba, but I myself am not absolutely clear on the reasons why White gets treated or potentially would be treated worse than Saliba.
Well, it's interesting when Lev was talking a second ago, when you were talking about Saliba and you were trying to come up with your reasoning for Saliba's kind of match rating. And I could see it in you, like going, I want to give him an 8. I really want to give Saliba an 8, but for the own goal, I've got to give him a 7. Yeah, and I question, and tell me if I'm wrong, but if it was White, I don't think you would have the same internal battle to bring that rating down to a 7.
You know what? No, because I'll tell you what, right? I think White was brilliant against Palace.
Yeah,
like I really do, and I will give credit where it's due. I think he had a really tough game. I was worried. He was starting right back position, which isn't his normal position. Centre backs generally don't like going out there. He was playing against Zaha. I think he was brilliant. He played the game exactly the way he should have done. He was touch tight to Zaha, didn't let him turn. He done 95% of everything right. I think he struggled more in this game. I don't think he was. I wouldn't have given him an 8 in this game. I thought he struggled a little bit more. And it's not his fault. He's filling in a position that is not his position. To answer your question I think what it is with Saliba is, I think fans are a good judge of a player. Don't underestimate fans. I think they see something in Saliba. They see a notch above with Saliba, where they're maybe a little bit more willing to give him a little bit more leeway because they've been waiting for so long. They see greatness in the lad, and I think maybe that buys him a little bit more credit. Is it right? Probably not.
I think they're frightened he's going to go as well. I think there's a fear that Saliba might leave, and so we have to kind of throw the world at him in terms of kisses and cuddles.
I can't see that, Tom. I think once he tastes the Premier League and he notices the difference between what he was playing in last season and what the passion and what the Premier League's about this season, I think he's not going to want to go anywhere anytime soon. Personally.
Yeah, but Lev, who's to say that he might not stay in the Premier League but just get another offer? I think it's a real risk. At the end of this season, he's got 1 year left of his contract.
Yeah, we need to nail it down.
In the past, he has said that he felt a bit unfairly treated, that he only had 24 hours to prove himself, and he has said that. I hope that's now history in his mind, but it is a bit of a risk. You imagine at Liverpool, for example, I'd quite like Van Dijk and Saliba playing with each other. At United, they've got serious problems. They're going to throw money at every single problem. That's
no one's going there, Mo, right now, are they? Though, let's be honest.
All I'm saying is that money talks in football. Saliba's not a boyhood Arsenal fan, is he? I don't know.
Yeah, he is.
He is. Oh, right, perfect. All right. Hopefully that will keep him here. But yeah, I worry. I am actually really worried about that. The day I hear contract extension for Saliba, I'm going to be a very relieved man.
I'm going to say it. I'm not worried. And I'll tell you why. I think this team right now, they're really gelling. and I think there's a unity within this team. I really do. They're all a similar age group. They've got some older guys in there, a blend as well. But you just sense there's some. If they continue with this momentum, I don't see Saliba going anywhere personally, and I think he could be our Virgil van Dijk. Why would we want to let this lad go? I think, long may it continue his performances. I want White, to do well in an Arsenal shirt. I think there's more to come from White. He's probably a victim of his £50 million fee. And you're right, everyone wanted Saliba, and we went out and spent 50 million on White. And maybe that's a hangover of that. But I do believe the fans are starting to get more behind the team, and will probably be a little bit more sort of, should we say, giving to White now, hopefully, fingers crossed. And I think All or Nothing's really helped humanize the players. And I think that's something else that might be, the timing of that might have been great too. But we are doing predictions.
I will say one thing.
Player ratings. Yeah, go on.
If Saliba does go, if we can't pin him down and get him to sign a new contract, it'll only get worse for White in terms of fans not being particularly pleasant to him. And it's not something I pondered upon. So anyone in the comments that's watching this, if you've got a theory on why Ben White isn't necessarily treated as well as Saliba or even Gabriel, let me know, because it's got me thinking now.
Well, you lot got me worrying about something I wasn't worrying about a minute ago, so thanks. But very quickly before we go on, a big hello to everyone in the chats. Mikey B400, Harvey, Bulgarian Guna, Richie Rich, Don 1, Johan C, Rancid Pumpkin, who was the one that actually came up with the question with regards to White, which is really good. GB and all the rest of you in here. Save your questions for the last 10-15 minutes, by the way, but please do continue contributing to the chats. So where were we? It's been so long. All right. So I think I was at White. Was that the last one we did? White?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
Into the midfield now.
Okay, into the midfield. So let's start with Thomas Partey, Mo.
Not very good. I don't think it was very good at all. I think his pass completion rate was 69%, which I think is really quite poor. Zinchenko, on the other hand, his pass completion rate was about 90%, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, 93, I think.
Yeah, I just think for Thomas Partey, it wasn't a good day at the office. I'd give him a 6 out of 10.
Wow. Do you know what? That's one thing I will say about Thomas Partey. His distribution sometimes lets him down. So, yeah, you're probably right in that sense. Okay, so then let's go Xhaka, Tom.
9 out of 10 for Granit Xhaka.
What? If
Yeah.
Shaheen was here, he'd be having a heart attack right now. Especially
he shouldn't. He should be happy, and I hope he would be happy that he had a 9 out of 10.
I think we need him to stay away, because ever since he's gone, we're doing really well. Yeah, he's a bit of a jinx, isn't he?
Look, Xhaka was brilliant. Got forwards, really strong, good passer, good recovery tackles. He made one error, which was right at the beginning of the game, which obviously let Fofana in. Had Fofana scored, I think we may have been talking about a very different performance. But that was the only thing that I can think of the top of my head that wasn't going his way in the game. A goal, an assist, get into the box, hit the post. Was really kind of on it in terms of his own goal, in the right place, the right time. It's ironic because even that Xhaka played so well, what excites me the most is thinking about what if a real dynamic player was playing there. That's kind of the most exciting thing for me about that, which is unfair on Xhaka because obviously he played so brilliantly. But that for me was arguably his best performance in an Arsenal shirt, I think. So 9 out of 10.
It'll be interesting to see if he can continue that. Or, playing the way he's playing, and whether we can carry on sort of allowing him to move more forward. Mo, you look like you wanted to say something as well.
Yeah, I just want to say, I personally think, Tom, it's a little bit too generous, but...
Come on!
Still,
why? What's your reason? What's your reason, Mo?
Why lower than a 9?
No, I just think he was good, but not... I mean, a 9 is, given the
same as Zinchenko.
Yeah, Tom said that he doesn't give 10s. So that means this is Tom's maximum rating. I don't think.
Wow, 9.5 is maximum. Jesus is a 9.5, mate. We'll get there.
All right, fair enough. But the thing is, what I wanted to say was that I felt like it was important for Xhaka to have a good game. Very important because of Tielemans being on the pitch. And in terms of that, Tielemans, Xhaka, who played better on that day, Xhaka won that hands down, which I think is very, very important for him. But I wanted to ask you, Lev, because I think the two are linked. now that Tom has done Xhaka, can you do Odegaard? And then I want to ask you the question: do you think Odegaard's rating is potentially is not higher because of how advanced Xhaka was?
Okay, well, before we go into that, very quickly, Wayne Sage, thank you again, bro. You're always supporting this channel. Ask a super chat here. If Xhaka pulled Lev's hair the way Romero pulled Cucurella, he would have gone a straight red with that. I don't think. See, that's where I would have had the advantage. You would have tried it, and he just would have slipped, and I would have still been standing. So, like, me, my hair fell out a long time ago.
Wayne knows what he's doing with that comment.
Yeah. Nice one, Wayne. I hope that $5 was worth that. Yeah, cheers, mate. Anyway, going back to Odegaard, I was going to take this one as difficult. It would have been interesting to see what Shaheen had to say about it. There's been a lot of mixed comments in regards to Odegaard over the last couple of days, because some were saying he was subpar, some were saying he was good. I think with Odegaard, what you need to do is you need to really understand football and see what he does. All right, it wasn't his best game. I'm not going to suggest it was, but he keeps things ticking over, makes the right decisions at the right time. Even when he's having an average game, it's still solid in general. I think he's going to be benefiting more and more throughout the season. We seem to be getting more possession, which is better than what we had with the Palace game, where we had to drop deep. Quickly coming back to what Mo said about Xhaka being potentially, he's always got that thing in the locker. I think what he did last week at Palace, where he dived and got the yellow, really influenced us dropping back. And that's something that Xhaka did that maybe had a knock-on effect to the rest of the midfield. And that's what you were touching on there. And maybe having someone a little bit more mobile, doesn't get caught out the way he does, and, can move his feet a bit quicker, will also benefit Odegaard. I'll probably give Odegaard a 7. Because, he still marshaled things. He still knitted things together. He still made passes at the right time when he was meant to. I think he's a good player. I think we needed someone like him. And there's still more to come from Odegaard. So I'll say 7, if you guys agree.
I think max. 7 max. For me, it's a 6 or 7. I thought he was quite ineffective in an attacking sense, though off the ball, he's always very good. And as you say, he keeps things ticking over. But my question, and Tom, I'd love to know what you think on this as well, based on what we were talking about, Xhaka being more advanced. I think if Xhaka's not playing that advanced role, it's Odegaard who pops up there to score where Xhaka does. I felt like Xhaka being more advanced took something away from Odegaard's game.
It's an interesting point. I'm not sure is the honest answer. I don't know. I think that Saka had and we'll come on to him, had a very quiet game.
Yeah.
And I feel as though when Saka's quiet, I think that has a knock-on effect on Odegaard, maybe more so than Xhaka's advanced positioning. I just didn't get the feeling that Saka was... I mean, I'm assuming you were coming on to me next anyway, Lev, for Saka.
Yeah.
I would give probably a 6 out of 10, to be honest.
Okay. Well, there goes that question then.
I was next anyway, but yeah, probably a 6 out of 10 for Saka. And I just feel as though if Saka's not up for it, and 99 times out of 100, it usually is. It was a bit of an odd one for him. But yeah, and I was kind of questioning earlier on whether or not the reason behind maybe why our right side is not as potent as the left now is because Zinchenko and Xhaka are getting so far forward and supporting Gabriel Martinelli with Jesus. We don't have that on the right because we have White, who's a lot more disciplined than Zinchenko and kind of sits. So there's more space for Saka and Odegaard to operate in, but there's also then more space for more opposition players to try and kind of restrict the movement of those players too. Odegaard, I thought, was a solid 7 out of 10. I do disagree slightly with what Mo was saying. I thought he was very good in terms of the technical play around the outside of the box, the passing that we needed to play, the incisive pass. There was a really good pass into Nketiah in the second half after he came on just in behind. The thing about Odegaard is that as a 23-year-old, there's still more of him to come to refine his game. But he's so good for a 23-year-old with his vision and his technical ability. When he gets kind of that next level, there's that coiled spring about Odegaard that really means he can explode for me. I think that Jesus, once those two click, is going to be great. And if you have a game where Odegaard, Saka, and Jesus are really on it at the same time, teams are going to be very frightful of that indeed.
I mean, look, I think Odegaard needs to add to his game also. You mentioned he's still only 23. I think he needs to add going forward more into his game and scoring more. He needs to add goals to being a midfielder.
This is an interesting one though, Lev, because do you know how, like, I look at Odegaard a bit like, you know, in terms of his role in the team, a bit like what Bernardo Silva does for Manchester City, you know, because he's not the Kevin De Bruyne, you know, Odegaard for me. Kevin De Bruyne is your goal-scoring drive at the opposition, you know, powerful. Whereas Bernardo Silva, like Odegaard, is your technical passer, creative. And last season for City, Silva got 8 goals in the Premier League and Odegaard got 7. And I think there's kind of a big obsession that Odegaard needs to get double digits. You know, I'd said at the start of the season, that's kind of got to be his target. But I think there is an obsession around, you know, having a double-digit midfielder scoring goals. When you look at a side like Liverpool, and outside their front three, you know, they don't have the goal scorers. They have a lot of creators outside the front three, but their front three and their other, you know, the deputies, Jotas and Firminos, who are outside of Darwin Nunez and Diaz, also score goals. So I think if we kind of detach the obsession of making sure that Odegaard gets into double digits for goals, then we can start appreciating what he does from a creative standpoint away from that side of things.
But where I was going, Tom, sorry, Mo, but where I was going very quickly is he does get into positions where he can score. And I think he needs to be a tad more decisive. Mo?
Yeah, listen, I personally don't think in this room that we don't appreciate all of that stuff that Odegaard does. I even appreciate not so much even just the technical, keeping the ball, playing the right pass at the right time, at the right speed, all of that stuff, where he's so tidy. I even appreciate what he does off the ball. I think he's the leader of the attacking press. And I think, you know, he does an incredible job off the ball. Never, ever has a bad game off the ball. And that's why I always say, if someone thinks Odegaard has played badly, watch him for 5 minutes off the ball and you'll realize he never plays badly. But I do feel like he does need to be more clinical up the top. And also, you know, there's sometimes he does pull out of his locker. I remember the pass from Will Smith-Rowe's goal against Leeds last season away from home, where dinked it in between 2 defenders. And every now and then he'll do something like that. And I kind of feel like whether you get an assist out of it or not, I want to see that more often in games than he does produce. And, you know, I think the game against Leicester was a good example where I don't feel like he did enough of that, given the amount of possession that he had available to him. But in any case, I think what we're doing is we're sitting here talking about Odegaard being good/very good, going to very good/excellent. And that's just the level that he needs to notch up a tiny bit.
Agree. And with regards to touching on the Saka subject as well, Tom, now that you've given him a 6, I'm a little bit concerned with Xhaka because it seems like he's playing within himself right now. I want him to be more direct in the final third. He seems to not be as direct. He seems to sort of cut it back. He there's one-on-one situations where I would expect him to do more and he's not. I mean, I don't know if I'm seeing it differently to everybody else, but what do you think is going on with him right now? Because he's not firing on all cylinders at the moment quite yet, is he? He's not being as decisive as he should be.
It's weird because he had a banging pre-season. You know, he was on it. Scored loads of goals, got loads of assists, played really well. I just think he had a quiet game. You know, we've had 2 games this season to really go off. You know, in the Crystal Palace game, you know, after we'd had a real kind of energetic first 30 minutes, things died down a bit. We had the goal and then we kind of decided to sit a bit and then hit on the counter. And obviously Saka was crucial in getting that second goal. In this game, I think it was all about Jesus and Martinelli, you know, and the thing is when sometimes, of course, and our perception is that he had a quiet game, but there's also, you got to think about, because Jesus and Martinelli were so good, potentially the perception of Saka, you know, comparatively is then affected. If they all played at that kind of same level and yet we'd still come out of a win, you know, maybe we wouldn't be talking about Saka in this same way. But I think it's because contextually the other 2 were so good that it made Saka potentially look worse than maybe he was. I still think a 6 is fair in the context of the game. But yeah, I think it's more to do with the others rather than him. It will be interesting because we've got 3 very winnable games coming up. He will be crucial in making sure we can get maximum points in those.
Well, okay, I'm hearing as well that Liverpool are getting having a torrid time with Zaha at the moment. Which makes White's performance look even better last week as well, to be fair. There you go.
Just on Saka, I think Tom's right in the sense that it was actually about how good Jesus and Martinelli were, but I think in a slightly different way. It's just that who were our best players that game? Jesus, Martinelli, and their link up was brilliant, and then Zinchenko. So I feel like it was down the left a lot. And once you see that working really, really well, why change it? So I kind of feel like Saka didn't get those balls that allowed him to isolate defenders and that sort of thing. So I'm not worried at all about Saka. 2 games in, and Jesus is absolutely killing it. Let him do that. Saka will have his moment, his spell, his games, and he'll be that guy.
And what someone mentioned in the chat as well very quickly is before everything was coming through Saka, and teams were sort of ganging up on him, weren't they? They were doubling up on him. I think with this happening now, with Martinelli and Jesus up top, it's going to start to give teams even more of a problem. They're not going to know where the attacks are coming from, and hopefully that will play into Saka's hands further down the line. He'll start getting more space as well. So, it's a good problem to have. And I think in a way, we're kind of nitpicking at the moment, which is good.
Just quickly just while you were talking, I was looking at the average positioning of Leicester's players, and both Evans and Amate are very much skewed to Saka's side, whereas Fofana's kind of on his own on the right. So they definitely did try and suffocate Saka, and that opened up more space. Well,
maybe this is what teams are not going to look at that and think, well, hold on, if we stop Saka, we've got Martinelli, and if we don't, and this is going to be a good thing for us, hopefully moving forward. So that was Saka, and we'll go on to Jesus. I'll give this one to Mo.
9.5. Listen, I mean,
0.5s are coming in again. The dealers are out.
You can't give him a 10. He should have scored a hat trick. He should have scored a perfect hat trick, actually. But 2 goals, 2 assists, and all-round menace on the Leicester defence. He was brilliant. And I said in my match reaction after the game that, when you play Power League with your friends, one person will turn up and he's just better than everyone else. And it's just starkly obvious. That doesn't often happen on a Premier League or in a professional football environment because people legislate for that. They kind of double up. They have a game plan solely to stop that person being as good as they are. And Jesus just, he made it look easy. No one could stop him. He was just thinking in my head, if I want to take it round you, I'll take it round you. And that's what he did. Simple as that. He was phenomenal. And I'm excited that I've got a season ticket at Arsenal Football Club because it means I get to watch him week in, week out. And that is a huge, huge compliment.
No, listen, I can't remember the last time we had a striker like him. It's almost like you've taken Sanchez and Ian Wright and stuck them in one player because his energy levels gives me Sanchez vibes. But then he's positioning he's uncanny positioning in the box wherever the ball is, and that tenacity to want to score is the Ian Wright vibe that I've not seen in a player for a long time at Arsenal. So I was there at the game and I was seriously excited every time the ball was anywhere near him, and that is brilliant. So I mean, 9.5. If he had got a hat trick, you would have given him a 10, I'm guessing. So yeah, you agree with that, Tom?
Yeah, I can't really add too much more. I agree. Alexis is the last player I was this excited about.
Yeah, 100%.
What Jesus did in the 37th minute was a madness. Absolutely crazy. Ramsdale, a goal kick.
Yeah.
It's gone miles, 70 yards we're talking about. It should never have been controlled by Jesus. The guy, he's absolutely mental. He's crazy. He's just controlled it on his head. He's just bounced it up into the air.
Yeah, and then back into him. Yeah.
The thing is that in any other game, I would bank on Johnny Evans to be fine with that. It's just because it's Jesus. He's so chaotic. He's so determined that actually it puts defenders off. It makes them second guess. And so they're like, oh, I don't know if I'm going to win. Oh, I don't know what's going to happen. And I think that doubt gives him an edge. It's like an extra perk that he's playing within a game. It's really quite interesting.
And then to spin the defender. If that had gone in, my God,
goal of the month. I'm sorry, easy. Yeah.
You know what? You'd expect. Usually, when you're thinking about a striker up front on his own, you think someone maybe like I don't know, with a bit more stature up front, a bigger guy, right? But he just defeats everything. He's a small, quick, but he's ridiculously strong. He's got great control, great low center of gravity. The way he can back into it's a good thing for him if a defender's touch tight because then he can spin them, and that's a real problem for a defender to deal with.
Very hard to mark.
Yeah, very difficult. So I'm excited to see what happens further down the line. Now, I've got Martinelli for my player rating, and I've got to say, I love this kid. I really do. Like, if anyone who's a real fan doesn't like Martinelli as an Arsenal fan, you got to ask yourself serious questions. This kid is another one with those same energy levels as Jesus. He will not stop. What he did to Fofana, he just gave Fofana a torrid
90
time.
million.
Oh my God. Seriously, the guy was struggling. He got a yellow, then he had to back off. He just doesn't stop. He really doesn't. Yeah, and I think now he'll start. He's got that goal under his belt as well. I think he'll start notching some more. And there's a real connection between him and Jesus. They've seemed to hit some sort of telepathic connection, and I think there's more to come from him. And I'll have to give him a 9. I really do. I'll have to give him a 9. I think it was brilliant. The goal he took, it wasn't an easy goal either. It was probably one of the more difficult chances. I mean, Jesus' first goal was ridiculous. We haven't even gone into that. But that goal, he had no space, hardly any backlift, and still he managed to chip the goalie. I mean, unbelievable goal. And that was the Ian Wright thing, sort of, that I was talking about. But Martinelli's goal, he really didn't look. It was that wasn't a clear-cut opportunity. And that shot, that finish,
Martinelli a year ago doesn't take that shot.
No,
I'm putting out there now. He doesn't take that shot a year ago, and that's.
And also, he was the one that won it back on the halfway line as well. That goal epitomised him. Yeah, brilliant.
And it epitomises the type of players that Arteta's bringing in, and we have to give Arteta a lot of credit because I mean, to bring Jesus in and Zinchenko has added real quality to this team. And I have to say, what is clear to see is the levels of players that he was used to coaching at City. There was another level of player that we should have been bringing in at Arsenal a few seasons back, and he knows that level, and he's grabbed them with any opportunity he's had, and I think it's added something different to this team. So yeah, a 9 for Martinelli, and also the fans. I'll have to give the fans a 9 as well.
Yeah, for sure, they were brilliant.
Absolutely.
Brilliant. One
room for improvement though, Lev.
Yeah. There's a 0.5. One thing that did mar my experience on Saturday, I'll have to share it with you guys, is I was so excited to go to this game. I washed a white pair of jean shorts. Yeah, they were pristine, right? My daughter said to me, "You sure you want to go to a football game with white jean shorts?" I'm like, "No, it's not like, people don't throw things around. It's not like that anymore." Got to the game. I had myself a burger because Moh was running a bit late in traffic. Worried about ketchup. Didn't get any ketchup on my shorts. I was ready to rock. Got into the ground. Started watching the game. I look down and I see red all over me, right? I'm thinking, am I bleeding? I've looked at the guy next to me. Is he bleeding? Nothing, right? So I've gone to half time. I'm trying to wash it off from the front. Go back. No joy. It's getting worse. Anyway, I'm on my way home now. And everyone is looking at me, and I'm thinking, yeah, I must be looking all right. I must be. What I didn't realize is the intense heat. The paint was coming off the seats at the Emirates, right? And my total back half of my shorts were red and pink all the way down. I looked like I'd been bleeding from my bum. It's terrible.
This is because you were standing and leaning on the
yeah. But
not
come
the
on,
actual cushion of the seat.
Paint should not be coming off at the stadiums.
Oh, Lev, come on! It was 35 degrees. Upstairs, there's
there's got to be a warning: do not wear white shorts or something. Like,
we got forest fires in the UK. There's no legislation for what's going on,
mate. I'll tell you what, Arsenal must be paying some serious dry cleaning bills because that was terrible. I look terrible, but that was the only thing that marred my game. So stadium seating, I'd give a 3 out of 10. There you go. But so look,
the train services are 2 out of 10. That's for sure.
Oh yeah, train services as well. Yeah. So look, very quickly we'll touch on before we go on to the Bournemouth game. I wanted to touch on what's happening in the window. I know there's not a great deal to talk about, so it shouldn't take very long. We did touch on we were looking at midfielders at the moment potentially. Tielemans was mentioned. As he was going off, the fans were singing "See you next week," so there's that going on there. But then I'm starting to think we're only going to get one in, and if it is going to be somebody, I'd rather have someone to cover Partey, which we were discussing. The name that's been on sort of mentioned recently is Moises. Is it Casado? Yeah, from Brighton. And we'll have to say Brighton's scouting policy. You've got to give it some serious credit. The amount of money that Brighton are bringing in.
He's gone, isn't he? Isn't he the guy that's gone?
Tell you what, we
Snapped
should
him
be
up.
getting him in.
Someone snapped him up. Can't remember.
Brilliant scouting system. How much money have they made with the likes of the sale of White and
Newcastle, I think he's gone to.
Cucurella? Brilliant if they've got him.
Yeah.
Cucurella, Basuma. Now we're talking about the guy that's replaced Basuma is being looked at. So I mean, what have you been hearing? I'll come to you, Tom. I mean, is Pino potentially on the cards? I know that Edu's gone up to Spain on Ryanair. We saw that. That was quite funny.
That's not for transfers.
No, that wasn't for transfers. So what are you hearing at the moment, very quickly? I mean, and also Tavares and Balogun scoring again.
Yeah, very good. Honestly, Lev, I can't give you any positive news. There's nothing really going on. The Caicedo link came from the Express. They reported that. I doubt that's anything more than interest, to be honest. I don't know if Arsenal will be able to close a deal for him between now and the end of the window. Brighton will ask for a ridiculous fee. They only bought him for $4.5 million a year ago, and it's Dan Ashworth, by the way, the guy that's gone from Brighton now to Newcastle. He's the one that was getting all their mad recruitment. So Newcastle have done, arguably, probably their best signing, bar Guimaraes, is that Dan Ashworth. He's going to do them.
Don't remind me. Yeah.
But yeah, unfortunately, no, there isn't. I can't sit here and say X player is close or coming in. Arsenal still focusing on outs. Runarsson is close to moving to Al Anya Sport on loan for a season, which I know
Alanya.
very
I can help you
about.
with that. Alanya Sport.
Al Anya Sport. There you go.
Yeah.
And Bellerin, still, we're playing hardball with him. Still saying no. We want a fee. Bet us if you want him. We want a fee. And apparently, I think Pellegrini came out in a press conference and said their business is done. They're doing no more business. So all the tactics are flying about, at the moment. But there's nothing regarding Tielemans. There's nothing regarding Pino. There's nothing regarding Caicedo. At the moment, nothing is happening. Doesn't mean things aren't going on, because Arsenal are being very good at keeping things behind the scenes. But in terms of what's actually out there, nada.
Okay, well, that's made that quick and sweet. Get your questions ready in the next 5 minutes or so, guys. We're going to go on to the game coming up on the weekend. Now, predictions-wise, very quickly, none of us got it right, did we? I know you was close at one point. Did you say 3-1, Tom, by the way, last week?
I said 3-0.
All right, yeah, you tried to pull a fast one and say 3-1 in the chat, didn't you? Yeah, I think you did. I've got evidence. Okay, so we all got 1 point, so that's good. But look, Bournemouth away. These are the sort of games that Arsenal would struggle with last season and the previous seasons. They beat, who was it they beat at home? It was Aston Villa, yep. And then they lost 4-0 on the weekend to City. So Scott Parker's Bournemouth, how do you think we're going to be dealing with that? I'll start with you, Mo.
I think we will win. I don't think it will be as easy as, what maybe some fans will think, though. I'm going to go for a 2-0 Arsenal victory.
Oh, nice. Okay, fair enough. Go straight into the predictions as well. Tom, how do you feel things will go? I mean, is there anything Bournemouth can potentially do with this current squad to stop the likes of Martinelli, Jesus, and Saka, those three up top?
Yes, they were a very good side in the Championship last year. It was almost certain that they would come back up. I'm just looking at their squad that beat Villa last week. They play in a back three, which Arsenal have had joy against. Just to have that against Leicester, of course. Did Palace play in a back three as well? I'm not sure. I don't think they did, but we have had difficulties in the past with back threes as well. So it depends on the kind of style of the back three. I mean, Leicester play with Maddison behind Vardy and then wing backs, whereas Bournemouth, from the looks of things, play with Tavernier and Solanke and Moore as kind of a front three. Kiefer Moore, by the way, is going to cause some problems, I think, from corners and stuff like that. It's going to be interesting how we deal with that aerial threat. Saliba's probably the weakest part of Saliba's game is his aerial side. So he's going to have a challenge, a good experience for him. But I'm going to go for 3-1 Arsenal in this. I think we might concede. But still, I think we should be beating Bournemouth. Yeah.
Well, one thing I will say, we look a lot bigger in set pieces now. We've got a bigger units at the back. So I was toying with the idea of 3-1 or 3-0. I'm gonna go for 3-0. I'm gonna say look, the goals we conceded against Leicester, we could have easily avoided, in my opinion. And I've got to try and get another 3 points. So I'm going to go 3. I'm going to go 3-0. And we'll ask Shaheen what his predictions are as well. Let us know in your chat.
What did he go for the other week? What did he go for? Leicester.
2-1 he went for.
Yeah. He's at the bottom now, isn't he? At the moment, I would imagine.
At the bottom.
What the score?
Yeah, we're level because we got the results right. But
how do you feel down at the bottom, Tom? It's not something you're used to feeling, is it?
Mate, I really wouldn't get too cocky 2 games in.
Tom, if you need me, I'm here. I'm used to it, mate. Don't worry.
Mate, my bank account's still healthy. I don't know what you're talking about.
Mate, I'm still smiting about that. Anyway, so look, last few minutes. So get your questions in. Moh and Tom will, I'm sure, be happy to answer some questions, as will I. So I've seen loads, and then when you ask people to give you a question, you never seen one. So get the questions in now.
Whilst people are getting some questions in, can we just laugh at United, please?
Yeah.
Because,
oh my God, yeah, let's discuss this. Oh
Please.
my days. Oh God. I couldn't believe it when I got home. I just couldn't believe what I was seeing.
I could absolutely believe it because
4-0. You expected 4-0.
There's a Manchester City content creator guy, I can't remember his name, but he went on a preview show and he was like, Brentford are winning 4-0, and he was like, I'm not even joking, they're going to win 4-0. And the thing is that you could actually see the thinking behind it, because Brentford at home, nothing to lose against United. They know you go at United, you'll get joy. The worst thing about this is that we play United very soon. And the thing is, like, you think that'd be great.
Yeah.
But we historically have this way of we are a defibrillator for the Premier League losers. That's what we are.
That's a great term.
Love that.
We just bring people back to life. Like, we bring United back to life. We brought Fernandes scored for the first time from outfield last season in an age.
That was
Ronaldo
the old Arsenal, Tom. Come on, this is a new Arsenal now.
Exactly.
I just have this habit of like going up against teams, going, oh, they're rubbish, and then bottle it. So I just hope that we don't. I hope that we
want to take them to task. We really want to rinse them out.
Absolutely.
But it's beautiful. I love it.
It's great. It's great.
It is funny, and you look at their signings. I tell you what, it was something that Neville said. How does a team spend £1 billion and end up worse? Like, it was unreal. Honestly, that their recruitment. I mean, looking at what they've done with Martinez now, and they're playing him centre back. Surely you would have had to look at him and say, hey, hold on, this is the Premier League. You can't play him centre-back. You can't. It's different playing in the league he was playing in before. Just their recruitment in general. And why are they still persisting with McTominay and Fred in midfield?
They don't really have anyone else. It's quite funny that they don't, because they, honestly, the way they treated Paul Pogba, all they had to do was give that guy love and what he wanted in midfield and freedom, and they could have had a world-class midfielder for the rest of his career at United. I wouldn't say that I'm fully on board with him on a personal level at all times, but, as a footballer, you look at what he did for France. The reason why he plays for France the way he does is because he just gets all the love that he needs there. Yeah. And if they'd have given him that at United, they would have a world-class midfielder, but they don't. So
there you go. Well, let's look at some of these questions now. So, Van of Duty. Is the officiating really poor, or is there corruption in the Premier League?
This is all Mo. He's like a coiled spring for this stuff.
Mo, you're ready for this. Go for it.
I've always tried to stay away from the corruption element, right? But imagine this, Imagine Saturday League football. I'm talking about, people paying to play at that level. If they had VAR, right, and one person did what Romero did to Cucurella, pulled his hair.
Oh, my God.
Would you expect, even at the lowest level where you get access to a replay, that someone wouldn't turn around and say, oh, yeah, that's a foul? I don't understand.
And they looked at it after as well. They looked at it.
I don't think it's arrogance. I don't think it's corruption, but I think it's arrogance. I just think they're too assured in themselves, and they just think they can't make a mistake.
But, Tom, it's not arrogance not seeing it. Like, they obviously saw it, right? Help me understand this one. When they saw the replay, they obviously saw the hair pull. You can't miss it, right? Agreed? Like,
even the pundits were saying it's a stupid thing he's done. It could be in trouble here.
So then if they saw it, which we're saying they obviously did see it because they're looking at VAR, what other reason is there for them not giving it other than some sort of
bias?
Something a bit more sinister?
No, do you know what? I'll have to say, I
don't
think
get it.
in a few years we're going to hear some crazy stories that there was something going on. Because, come on, like
Spurs are.
VAR is doing its job. VAR is, everyone says, oh, VAR is crap, but it's not VAR. VAR is doing its job. It's showing you what happened there and then. It's the guys looking at the camera and making the decisions you have to question. Because come on, it's not the first time with Romero, incidentally, but forget that. That is assault. He's pulled him down. That's a straight red. You can't do that.
But come on, someone explain to me. We all agree that it's either they didn't see it or they saw it and then just still didn't bother. And we can all agree that they did see it because we all saw it. So how do they not go and do something? I don't understand it. I'm really, really confused.
And you have to ask the question.
Imagine watching the game with someone that doesn't care about football and they say to you, oh, why wasn't that given? What'd you say to them?
There's just no reason for it. Question for Johan C. Is it fair to say, he asks, Arsenal have dictated this transfer window? It seems we are the only ones with a plan. Everyone else is going players we've been linked with. Is going players. I'll see what he's saying. Basically, we've had it's ironic. I'll come to you with Tom with this. It's ironic because Gary Neville was saying he couldn't see a strategy not long ago, and we could clearly now see there was one. I mean, our transfer window, you can't, obviously, I still think we're 1 or 2 short, but how have we compared to others?
Yeah, I think if you just said in isolation, if the window was to end today and we'd had what we had, I'd say we have a 7/8 kind of window. I still think, we need a couple more. Midfield number 6, as we've talked about. I think I agree with you, Lev. That's Thomas Partey competitor. I lean more towards that now than the attacking midfielder kind of minded player and a wide 100%. Forward that can cover a striker as well. I think that's what we need. But yeah, you look around and you look at kind of Todd Bowley's scattergun approach to, £43 million bid for Anthony Gordon. What's the plan behind that? He scored 4 goals in the league last season. I get he's a talented kid, but I feel that just strikes me of Ross Barkley 2.0, to be honest. I know that's lazy because he goes from Everton, but I just don't see why, when you've got Mount and players like that you need to do that. You've got some talented young guys in Callum Hudson-Odoi there that I don't think gets enough minutes and should get more. Yeah, I don't really see why 43 minutes to go there. Man United are a joke. The only reason Lisandro Martinez went there over us is because we weren't willing to go to the price Ajax wanted. I think he would have come to us if it weren't for that. Liverpool's interesting. They're 1-0 down right now, as we know. I still don't get why they've not. And I know that Konate is not available right now, but I still feel like they need another defender just in that team. I also feel like they need something extra in central midfield, Liverpool, and they've just been stubborn and not gone and done it, and I don't know really why. That's the difference between a team like Liverpool, I suppose, and Man City. But the reason why Man City have won 4 of the last 5 league titles opposed to Liverpool is because they just keep on bringing in quality. Every summer they'll bring in extra quality. They spent 100 million on Jack Grealish and he scored 3 goals, but it doesn't matter because you got Foden and Silva and Mahrez, and it's a ridiculous amount of players. And they had Sterling and Jesus prior to this summer as well. And now they've brought in Erling Haaland, of course, and they've got Julian Alvarez, which is a really interesting young guy too. So, yeah, I think beyond us and City, I think have had really strong windows. But beyond that, Chelsea is a bit strange. They've got some good signings. I like Koulibaly. I think he's a good defender.
Yeah, good.
I think that's a really good move. I like Sterling. I think that's another good move for them. But I don't necessarily see the plan yet at Chelsea, and that's unsurprising.
Strange, no striker, Tom. They've
they're looking at Aubameyang, aren't they, at the moment? Barca apparently want 30-odd million euros, according to Fab. I think.
Imagine we give him away for free and then they make 30 million.
You could just, but Barca don't need to sell him, so they're just like, if you want him, you got to pay it. Whereas Arsenal were like, let him go, please.
The thing is, though, with Chelsea, they have added some really good players. You can't deny Koulibaly is a very, very good centre-back. But also, they've lost a very good centre-back in Rudiger. So they've replaced what they've lost, whilst Arsenal have really added to the team and to the squad. And on Aubameyang, if he does come back, can you imagine how motivated he will be to stick the knife into Mikel Arteta by scoring the goals that take Chelsea into that Champions League qualification spots? So, hoping it doesn't happen. Just hoping he doesn't go back to Chelsea.
Just again on Chelsea, people talk about the money they make in their sales, and don't get me wrong, they've made a lot of money through sales. My goodness, they've let some talented good players go. Go over the years, and you go Salah and Kevin De Bruyne, but even more recently, like Mark Gay, Crystal Palace is a great defender. I think easily would have been better than some of the options that they've got. You know, Tony Rudiger going as well, of course, is a big one, but he was on a free. Tomori, you know, who went AC Milan, fantastic player. They've let some real Tammy Abraham. You know, they kill for him up front this
right
season.
now. Yeah, geez,
Yeah,
that's a good point. That
yeah, they've let some really talented players go, and I don't really get it. I don't really get
maybe these poor transfer windows that they're having is actually going to give us the chance to catch up on them a little bit this season. Well, you know, we were expecting everyone to strengthen this season. That was our concern, and maybe that just hasn't happened, and you know, it could work in our favour. Very quickly, one last one. How do you think Arsenal will do? Ask Hugh. During the Europa League group games when they start, how do you think we'll do? I think is he saying in Europa, or is he saying in the league itself?
Once the fixtures come thick and fast. Yeah.
Guys,
go on, mate.
I think we're a strong enough team to deal with Europa League in a fairly regulation manner because of the fact that, you know, we'll definitely be one of the better teams in there. I think we will be prioritizing Premier League, so I wouldn't expect the team that we've seen against Palace and Leicester be the one to start home or even potentially away Europa League group games. I think we will rely on other people to come in, Vieira and Nketiah, Smith Rowe, and maybe that's when Tini will start. However we do it, I think we'll see other people come in there, Lokonga as well. But yeah, I think we'll be fine because we've got a bigger squad now. So I think we'll have enough to see us through and to not be too affected. That picture can very quickly change though if we do pick up injuries. You know, if we do play Tierney, for example, he gets injured, then all of a sudden we're down to one. If Nketiah gets injured, then Jesus all of a sudden becomes even more important. So injuries is always the unknown, but from what we know, I think we'll be fine.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Partey and Jesus, they're the two most important ones not to lose to injury. Because if we,
and Ramsdale.
Rams. Oh my God, yeah. Now you've mentioned it, Ramsdale. We've got Turner. Jeez. So yeah, there are some, there are some permutations. But look, fingers crossed, and I think we could win that Europa with a bit of luck. So with this current squad, so fingers crossed on that. Anyone want to add anything else before we wrap it up?
Well, on Europa, I think we can win it. Depends who comes out of the Champions League. That's always the unknown element of that, and you have to see. A really strong team could come out. It really frustrates me when you look at when Arsenal in the Europa League, the teams that we came up against, and like Atletico Madrid type of thing, versus when United won it, who they had to overcome, and I think we got a bit of bad luck. So who knows what's going to happen this year? But I'm looking forward to it.
And did you get any problems with Phil on Saturday?
No problems with Phil. In fact, on this occasion, I was doing my thing. One of the stewards just looked at me. I acknowledged him just how I did the first time. Let me finish. I walked out, nice and simple.
Did he give you one of these as well? But yeah. Anyway, and Tom, anything else you want to add?
No.
Anything
just
you got coming up you want to let anyone else know about in the chats?
Well, next week will be the last show I do before I get married, so that's something, I suppose. So I won't be here for the one on the following Monday after that. But
wedding gift link will be in the thing after, so you can get your gifts, Tom. I'm sure.
Yeah, no, actually, I will give something a shout out. I did a show on the channel with a journalist that most of you know called Ben Jacobs. It wasn't about Arsenal transfers in the sense of like who are we linked to. It was a show about how much abuse journalists get. And it was a show about how kind of he read through. We did kind of a funny experiment where he didn't touch his Twitter while he was on the show until 20 minutes in. He then refreshed his Twitter and then read through some of the replies to some of his tweets in that 20 minutes. Not spontaneous, not like prompted, And honestly, some of the things that happens to a journalist with like over 100k followers, it's disgusting. So we went into that and methods about that and stuff like that. So yeah, it's worth a listen.
Interesting. I'll give that a listen. Yeah. Okay. Well, look, it's been another positive show for us. Long may it continue. I'm very doubtful about letting Shaheen back on the show when he returns. I think we should just keep him away from it for as long as possible. Maybe we should come to an agreement that until Arsenal lose, he is not allowed to return back to the show. How about that? No? Anyone?
Yeah, it sounds good to me, mate. Anything for Arsenal's success. If that means
Anything,
Shaheen's on the
that's it.
chopping block, so be it.
It's either Shaheen not being here or my third kit not arriving. It's one of those two. That's clearly the reason. So,
Right, well, if Arsenal were watching, sort out Tom's third kit. It's ruining the build-up to his wedding. In fact, he was wearing it for the
suit,
wedding.
mate.
That is the suit. Yeah, that is the wedding suit. So, guys in the chat, thank you so much for joining us. Make sure you put your comments in, your predictions. Also, make sure you hit your likes. And if you haven't subscribed, where you been, please subscribe. Keep your notifications on. We'll see if I can fit in anything else along this week. I am spread a bit thin without Shaheen here. But on that note, this has been great. It's been the Arsenal Lounge. Long may these results continue and performances. So we're out of here. Peace out.